We acknowledge the First Peoples and their traditional lands referred to as Treaty 6, 7, and 8 territories, and that the province of Alberta and all the people here are beneficiaries of these peace and friendship treaties. Treaties 6, 7, and 8, along with small areas of Treaties 4 and 10, encompass the traditional territories of numerous Western Canadian First Nations as well as the Métis people. NorQuest College is dedicated to ensuring that the spirit of these treaties is honoured and respected. Heeding the calls to action of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, with funding from Alberta Advanced Education, the Rural Roots program is herein responding to the calls for education for reconciliation. Article 62, 2. To post-secondary institutions to educate teachers on how to integrate Indigenous knowledge and teaching into classrooms. Article 63, 2. Sharing information and best practices on teaching curriculum related to residential schools and Aboriginal history. Article 63, 3. Building student capacity for intercultural understanding, empathy, and mutual respect. Article 63, 4. Identifying teacher training needs relating to the above. We are grateful to the elders who, with open hearts, willingly shared the knowledge they keep for their peoples. On behalf of English language learners throughout the province of Alberta, we thank them for introducing newcomers among us to truth about identity, treaty, protocol and ceremony, residential schools, challenges to overcome, and guiding lights.
We have to also be very respectful as Indigenous people to each other. Just because we know a little bit doesn't mean we can do all the things that people have been doing. We have to take our time to learn. And we have to be able to listen to people to tell us you're not ready yet. Many things were forbidden and colonialism has stepped in. We were missing those in residential school. We didn't know where we stood. We didn't know about life. That was not explained to us. And yet our ancestors lived for thousands of years with those teachings. You speak to elders and you will have a gut feeling about a good elder. So I've seen lots of medicine being made, lots of medicine culture things being done. We were taken to the Sundance. We watched things that people find hard to believe. We went to see a medicine man, and my dad said, "Akuse apichin nimishtadim, anini doke jayat. Kapit agushin na we sema kiminin. Ha, gaija noses." Our horse is very sick, it's dying. They smudged the horse and they gave it medicine. They did the mind, the body, and the spirit of the horse. And he said, "I'm going to take a blade of grass and I'm going to hit that horse with it. And if it's going to live, it's going to jump. If it's not, then we will pray that he has the rest of the journey." Picked it up, hit that, and that horse just up like that. And he said, "The only thing you have to do is to give him this medicine they had and to keep him never to sell him. This is his place. He has to stay here. He's safe here. I never said, I don't say that very much to anybody, but that's what we saw. That's an elder of a different type. I want to explain a little bit about this. The sweetgrass is the mind, body, and spirit when you pick it up. And anybody can smudge out of respect. Many, many nations have the smudge because every country in the world has or had indigenous people living in it of that country. So they lived off the land like we did. Bannock is not our traditional food because we didn't have grain. But the nations in the east had corn and they had grain. So they had they had flour. See, this is the corn from the east because we didn't have beets. The beets came a long time later, 150 years ago. And these are cedar seeds. Everything is very pretty that you have with the beads in between, but those are seeds. Yeah, and the drum. Now, again, different nations, women drum, some nations don't. We drum, we do rattles. In our nation, we do rattles. The highest gift you can get is the eagle feather. We had a winter home and a summer home. You moved a little bit further south sometimes to follow the buffalo. But otherwise, we had the same trail. And you left food on your way out for the next person and you picked it up on your way back and left some more. It was always, because our food was easy to keep and it was light. That's why we dried it. It was much easier to dry food, berries, and we ate what was in season, so that would nourish our bodies for the rest of the year because our animals ate the same things. When we're saying we used what nature offered us, and sage is women's medicine, and sweetgrass is basically a men's medicine. And the north is the fungus. Different nations use different things, from BC to the Atlantic provinces. It's different customs, different housing, different dress, different everything. So we're independent nations, really. But they like to paint us all the same, but we're not. We're very different, but our values are the same because we're earth people.
Smudging is it's a ceremony in itself, and there's different ways of looking at it. In my community, in the Driftbile Cree Nation, we have in Cree, it's called Wickamussagan. That's a fungus that grows on a diamond willow. Here in the Edmonton area, Treaty 6, they have two types of smudge. One is sage. The other one is known as a sweetgrass. And there's a spiritual reason that reflects on why we smudge. When I talk about the sweetgrass, there's 3 strands that creates that braid of grass. And our hair today, men, when we wear braids, mine's short, but it's still there. We wear braids. That's based on the teachings of the sweetgrass. There's 3 strands. The first strand represents our mind. So when we smudge, we want to smudge our mind. The second strand is our body. We smudge our whole body. And the third strand is this, we call it the soul or the spirit. Mind, body, and spirit. And when we smudge them, it's not because we need to clean the air or we need to clean our body. What that smudging does, it brings clarity. We want to have a good mind that'll take care of our body. No outside distractions. It connects to the spirit. And the reason we smudge today is that we want to talk to the higher powers. Some elders call them God. Myself, I call them creator. Some of them will call them grandmothers and grandfathers. Smudging is about creating balance where you're both equal. The woman had the authority to help the men, but they created that equalness that they walk together. When we do a prayer, we join hands in that circle of life. When we join hands, we become one mind, one body, and one spirit. And we all pray together. That's what smudging is. There is rules, it's protocol, but one of the main rules relates to the woman. So when she's on her moon time, she's not allowed to smudge with sweetgrass. She can use the sage. The second rule applies to both men and women. In order to smudge, you have to be alcohol-free, drug-free, at least a minimum 4 days prior to the smudging. But when you're under the influence of drugs or alcohol, your mind is not your mind. You can't connect to that spirit. Those are the rules.
I was talking to my sons, I told them they got to believe in something. We go to church Sundays, and when somebody has passed away, they have a feast or a wake. You know, you deal with yourself first, then other people. I call him Creator, and you know, he's the one and only Jesus. And we live off the land, what the Creator give us to live off, like whale in the summer, and fish, and caribou, and reindeer. And in the fall, it's moose, caribou, seal, and some geese, white geese, yellow lakes, ducks, swans, and in the springtime too, and all the geese flying to the NWT. When we see people in our community, we'd ask them if they want tea, coffee, and come and visit and have something to eat.